It stands in a small southern cemetery, the gravestone of a 26-year-old Black American.
Jimmy was a symbol of something. That guns and bullets cannot destroy ideas.
There are Black cemeteries still hidden in the pine groves and swamplands of the South, reminders of 300 years of slavery and oppression, of forgotten gravestones, forgotten names. By 1954, slavery had been dead in America for nearly a century. But in that time, one type of tyranny had replaced another. In the 1950s, the average income of an African American in Mississippi was $700 a year. Denied the vote, they had been written out of the political system. Denied an education, they had been left to do a white man's work at a black man's wages.
They're supreme, they're superior. So that's what they're thinking. And when you've been taught something so long, whether it's right or not, you begin to feel like it's right.
In Money, Mississippi, in the summer of 1955, a 14-year-old black boy from Chicago bought candy in a store. On the way out, he said something to the owner's wife. Emmett Till was visiting his cousin's grandfather, a 64-year-old tenant farmer. Mose Wright had lived in Mississippi all his life and knew his place. It never occurred to him that
Looked like a youngster, be kind of mannish. Didn't know the custom of the South. Whispered at a white lady. Whistled at her. And that night, they went there and got him. And took him out and killed him. And put weights on him and put him in the river.
Emmett Till's funeral was held in Chicago. At his mother's request, the coffin was left open for the world to see what they had done to her son. The trial for the murder took place in the Tallahatchie County Courthouse in September 1955. An all-white jury was selected. Blacks were confined to a separate corner of the room. The murderers were identified and later admitted kidnapping and beating and killing Till. But the white jury took just an hour to find Roy Bryant and his half-brother J.W. Milam not guilty. A few months after the Till trial, blacks met in Montgomery, Alabama's Holt Street Baptist Church to protest their continued abuse. They were especially angered at what had happened a few days before. Rosa Parks, riding a city bus, had refused to give up her seat to a white man and had been arrested. Black people had been arrested before, even shot for less offenses to the city's segregation ordinances. But Rosa Parks was a well-known, respected figure in the black community, and her arrest ignited indignation.
These guys that drove these black routes, they were white. They would say, move back, move back, move back. Get your black ass back there.
If you're sitting in the front of the bus, he made you get on the back, or either if you didn't get on the back, refused, he would take you, put you in jail.
And we are not wrong. We are not wrong in what we are doing.
On December 5th, 1955, 26-year-old Martin Luther King was chosen to lead the bus boycott.
If we are wrong, the Supreme Court of this nation is wrong. If we are wrong, the Constitution of the United States is wrong. If we are wrong, God Almighty is wrong.
The first bus came up and the driver yarned the door open. He said, are you getting on? And that black man said, I ain't getting on till Jim Crow gets off.
They walked and organized their own carpools and taxis. City buses stood idle or ran empty.
We stayed on the bus 381 days. And that's a long time.
On December 20th, 1956, U.S. Marshals served city officials with a federal court order banning bus segregation. The battle had been won.
Citizens of Montgomery, Alabama will return to the buses on a non-segregated basis.
But in Little Rock, Arkansas, a new battle was about to begin. On September 4th, 1957, 3 years after the Supreme Court decision outlawing school segregation, the Arkansas National Guard and an angry mob stood between 9 black children and the all-white Little Rock Central High School. Prevented by the troops from entering the school, the 9 black children were harassed, cursed, and threatened by the mob. Some were demanding that they be lynched. Only with the help of a white woman did one of the children make it to a bus and to safety. On September 25th, the 101st Airborne Division arrived to enforce the Supreme Court decision outlawing segregation in American public schools.
We were gathered up at each of our houses by an Army station wagon. Jeeps in the front and behind us, machine gun mounts, bayonets drawn. They assigned us each an individual paratrooper who was our personal guard. White soldiers who were not much older than we were. Every day was like going to war.
The perseverance and bravery of the 9 black students attending Central High School had an influence far beyond Little Rock. Young people, especially students in predominantly black colleges, were inspired to move against the injustices they saw. In the winter of 1960, they began a series of sit-ins at segregated lunch counters in a dozen American cities that refused to serve African Americans.
Come on, get out of here.
We never gone down this road before, so there was some concern about what could happen, or what would happen.
A manager would come out and say, "We're just not going to serve you, and you're best getting out because we're going to call the police."
Come on, boy, what you doing in here? Get out of here.
I mean, there was always the uncertainty of what would happen.
And you just stay there, and you keep your eyes on the prize. You feel the pain, but you don't become bitter. You don't become hostile. And you sort of lose yourself. You forget about your own circumstances, and you become involved in the circumstances of others. But we were committed to the philosophy and to the discipline of nonviolence.
In May of 1961, 2 groups left Washington by bus to call to the attention of the country violation of anti-discrimination laws in interstate travel.
These were all young, bright, attractive students, at peace with themselves. You know, I think every waking hour they knew they were subject to be killed.
In Virginia and the Carolinas, they suffered intimidation. But now they were entering the Deep South.
When we first heard that the Freedom Riders was coming through Alabama, of course, when they got to Anniston, the bus was surrounded, and while the bus was stopped, they punctured the tire. Then the Klansmen followed that bus when it left Anniston with those Freedom Riders on it. They knew those tires were going flat. And they set the bus on fire. The highway patrolman, if he had not been on that bus, everyone would have burned to death.
They were now informed that the riders of the second bus had been beaten by Klansmen in Birmingham. Proceeding from Birmingham, the riders had been assured protection to the Montgomery city limits by the state police.
I had arranged for about 32 highway patrol cars, 16 in front, 16 behind, with an aircraft following them from Birmingham to Montgomery.
And when we arrived, the patrol car disappeared. You just had the feeling that something was about to happen.
Go home, nigger! That'll teach you.
It was a bloodbath. There was a ministerial student named James Werg, badly beaten about the face. I think he lost several teeth.
And blood just came from everywhere, and it just started running down my face, back of my head. Our bodies became living witnesses to the cause of human dignity.
They would leave Alabama having survived the bus burnings in Anniston and the beatings in Birmingham and Montgomery. A few days later, they would be arrested and put in jail in Jackson, Mississippi. Hearing of the bravery that preceded them, blacks in Albany, Georgia, in Jackson, in Selma, Alabama, began to boycott, march, and protest. Even their leader, Martin Luther King, was arrested. It was Good Friday in Birmingham. He responded to white clergy criticizing him for going too far, too fast.
When you have seen hate-filled policemen curse, kick, and even kill your black brothers and sisters, and your first name becomes nigger, your middle name becomes boy, however old you are, and you are harried by day and haunted by night by the fact that you are a Negro, living constantly at tiptoe stands, never quite knowing what to expect next, then you will understand why we find it difficult to wait.
It was Sunday morning. It was church. It was children. It was 10:22 in the morning at the Birmingham 16th Street Baptist Church. A group of young girls had just finished their Sunday school lesson. They were changing into their choir robes.
The bodies and the partial clothing that you saw, it was like a nightmare.
They were not participants. They were not leaders. They were not marchers or sit-inners. They hadn't gone on a freedom ride. They were just there attending Sunday school.
The bomb that had killed the 4 children had been the work of the Ku Klux Klan. Until that moment, the majority of white people had never fully comprehended the magnitude of the intolerance and hate Black Americans faced in their struggle. In the summer of 1964, hundreds of students from the North traveled the back roads of Mississippi. They had come to help blacks register to vote.
People were scared of you. You know, you represented potential trouble.
We had all of the reasons that people could possibly give us of why they wouldn't register to vote. I don't want to do that because I don't want my house burned down. I don't want to do that because my son works for Mr. Nutlow, and Mr. Nutlow wouldn't be pleased with this. Who's making you do this, Henry? You know we've gotten along well. Why do you think you have to do this now? Every segment of that process was laden with danger. Known danger for black people.
I live here. I'm not like a man with a suitcase can move at a minute's notice. I said, but I can't march now, but any way I can help you, I'll do that. They opened my eyes. It opened a lot of people's eyes. My eyes were already half open, and it just opened them on up.
But there were so many thousands of people who said, yes, I will be there. Even though they knew and had known all of their lives that whites were unequivocally opposed to them voting. But they risked their lives, their jobs, their homes, their families, and they went down to register to vote.
Well, I went up there and I filled out an application. They had all about the Constitution and everything. Some of the questions on there, no doubt, the man would give me the application. I don't believe he knew.
The application was 4 and 5 pages long. And the registrar was an 8th grader. He could not read the applications.
You never did know whether you answered them right or wrong. You never did see it no more. I mean, most times they took them and threw them in the garbage can.
At 3 p.m. on June 21, 1964, near Philadelphia, Mississippi, 3 workers were held by the Neshoba County Deputy Sheriff and charged with speeding. Michael Schwerner, a social worker from New York, was easily recognized as an outsider. James Cheney, 21, the son of a maid, was a native of Meridian, Mississippi. Andrew Goodman was also from New York and had, since the age of 14, participated in civil rights protests. At 10 p.m., Sheriff Cecil Price ordered the 3 to return to Meridian. They were soon followed by 2 cars.
Car would pass and slow down. And then another car would come up behind and then box you in.
that once they found the car, you knew they would never find them alive.
The disappearance of 2 white men in Mississippi immediately focused national attention on Neshoba County. President Johnson ordered 100 FBI and 200 Navy personnel into the county to search the high grass and drag the Pearl River for bodies.
Unfortunately, during that process, they found other bodies, remains of other bodies, of other nameless black people.
A paid informer led the FBI to an earthen dam.
They were beaten, they were tortured before they were actually shot. And they were buried. The night that we knew the bodies had been found, there was tremendous sadness, but also a sense of relief in that finally we knew what had happened. This single incident made America able to come face to face with this racism and the hatred that existed.
The federal government charged Sheriff Price and other Klansmen involved in the killings with civil rights violations. But the state of Mississippi refused to press charges for murder. The focus of the movement now turned to Selma, Alabama, and the neighboring town of Marion, where 50% of the eligible voters were black, but only 1% were registered to vote.
And they had state troopers in every other office they could get, deputized people with guns to prevent us from marching around the courthouse and up and down the street.
On February 3rd, the Marion police arrested 700 black children for marching and jailed a leader for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Inside the Mount Zion Methodist Church, on the evening of February 18th, an organization and prayer meeting was held. Outside, local state police had gathered, reinforced by hundreds they had armed and deputized.
All you could see was a sea of blue, a situation where they had planned to teach us a lesson.
It had come from the direction of Mac's Cafe, where those fleeing the beating had taken refuge. Jimmy Lee Jackson, a black, had tried to prevent his mother and grandfather from being beaten and had been thrown to the ground by a state trooper.
And picked Jimmy up off the floor and shored him in a corner and actually shot him in the side. Just took a pistol and stuck it in his side and shot him. And as he ran up that hill, they continued to beat him and ran just beyond the church and fell between the church and the post office.
Jimmy Lee Jackson was 26, well-liked, quiet, and the youngest deacon of his church. They would bury him the following Saturday, walking 4 miles in the rain from Marion to the Black Burial Ground just east of town. Angered and saddened by Jimmy Lee Jackson's death, they planned their most ambitious protest. They would walk 54 miles from Selma to the State House in Montgomery and demand to present their grievances to the governor himself.
As we walked from the church, we knew we were walking into probably could have been our last death.
Jim Clark was at the foot of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, the state troopers were lined up. Cloud said, "Don't go any farther. Stop right where you are." Rozier Williams said, "May I say something?" And Cloud said, "No, you may not say anything."
Disperse. You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church. This march will not continue.
If you tried to go forward, you were going into a heat of battle. You couldn't go to the left or to the right because down below was the Alabama River. And they just beat us all the way back.
Somebody said, "You've got a dead person over there." And his remark was, "Well, let him die. Let the buzzards eat him." The world knew that there was a bloody Sunday. The world knew that the entire road was spotted with blood.
And it wasn't no Civil War, it wasn't no World War, and nothing, just people in the same country, same state, fighting against each other.
14 days after the world had witnessed Bloody Sunday, President Johnson asked Congress to pass a new Voting Rights Act and ordered federal troops to watch over the march.
You had blacks and whites, Protestant, Catholics, and Jews, young people, old people, poor people, rich people. They were just plain people. The march was a coming together of the best of America. We felt like we were in a non-violent army. We're making Gundy's march to the sea. Somebody wrote a little song, pick 'em up, lay 'em down, all the way from Selma town. Old Wallace, you never can jealous of.
It's 4 down, the street, around the curve, all the way back, nothing but people, street packed.
Congress passed the act, but it was the determined people of Selma and the Black Belt of Alabama that wrote it with their marching feet.
I started crying and I couldn't stop. The right to vote, it's over. It is done. It is done.
We stuck together and we overcame, making it better for our children. They didn't have to go through the things that we went through with. It helped us to accomplish some of our dreams.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.